Hey yogis. So my previous video spoke about whether you're mastering the pose or yourself. And this is kind of part 2. The second layer to whether you're mastering the pose or yourself is looking at the belief systems that come up through habitual practice. So there was a time during the COVID pandemic that I started doing more yin practices. And it was very quick that it happened, and shockingly. I noticed that when I wanted to do a regular practice, I suddenly had this weird belief system that I couldn't. So this is how our beliefs are created. We habitually move in a certain way, and then our range of motion becomes defined and limited because we're moving in very specific kinds of ways in our lifestyle. And then when you try to break out of that range of motion, there's often a lot of fear and belief system challenges. And if you don't catch them, you'll just say no, and you'll habitate back into the safe range of motion. And so when I challenge students to try a pose and their mind has said no before they've even got to the pose, we start to see these belief systems. And then some students will hold on to those belief systems quite rigidly and even create the self-fulfilling prophecy. See, I tried it, I knew I couldn't, I fell, I hurt myself. Or I tore something, or I broke something. It's to prove the belief system that was there because the mind needs to be right. And it's easier in a way to make the mind right and to adhere to the belief system, the limitation that you've created, than to break into territory that is unknown, unfamiliar, and scary. So I want you to notice in your practice how often you say no. Saying caution is a whole different story because that's allowing you to go slowly and with awareness into a place that's unfamiliar, but how often do you say no? A simple thing of lifting up your leg. Do you stop your leg at 20 degrees, 40 degrees, 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees? At what point do you say, that's my limitation? And it's coming from your mind rather than from your body. And if you were to challenge that assumption physically in that moment of being in that pose, and then start to engage bones, connective tissue, fascia, lines of energy, direction of energy, body's intelligence, you might realize that the limitation was false all along. And so then we can take the step off the mat and say, well, how am I doing this in my life? Where am I saying, no, that's not for me? Meanwhile, it's just because you've habituated yourself into a safe range of activities. Namaste.